to the expense account. This video is going to cover using QuickBooks Enterprise in an assembly or light manufacturing environment. My name is Patrick, and before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about our website, offtheshelfsystems.com. We're members of the Intuit Solutions Provider Program, so we're value-added resellers for all of Intuit's products. We sell QuickBooks Enterprise as well as QuickBooks Point of Sale and all the related hardware and supplies. So that's offtheshelfsystems.com, and you can reach us at 1-888-515-3085. Okay, for this video I'm using QuickBooks Enterprise Solutions version 11. And we're going to start with a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish and what we're not trying to accomplish. So what we're not trying to do here is full absorption manufacturing cost accounting. We really can't get there with Enterprise. However, we can perform assembly and light manufacturing quite well. The system with the proper setup and the proper steps, processes, and procedures is absolutely capable of being a standalone light assembly and light manufacturing accounting system. Manufacturing cost accounting gets very complex. Standard costing, the aforementioned full absorption cost method, which is required by GAAP to produce external statements. Again, not where we're trying to get to with this. We are aiming this at mid-market, small to mid-market companies who do assembly and light manufacturing. So how do we begin? Where do we start the conversation? We're going to start the conversation at the chart of accounts. What do we need? Well, theoretically, we're going to purchase our raw materials. We're going to bring those in, so we need a raw materials inventory account, which we have set up right here. And then we take those raw materials and we add some value, we do something to them, and then we create our finished goods. So we also need a finished goods asset account. We're going to have a cost of goods sold account. So when our finished goods are sold, we'll hit the cost of goods sold account. Of course, we're going to have an income account. And then we're going to cover adding labor, capitalizing labor into our finished goods. And the same method can be used for overhead or supplies, but we're just going to focus on labor. So we've got a payroll expenses account. We're kind of going to show you how we're going to offset the payroll expenses and capitalize that labor. So, where do we need to go from here? Let's go to the item list, because we need a special item to set up to record our manufacturing or our assembly. So I'm going to click on item, and we're going to add a new item. And this is a special type of item. It is an inventory assembly type item. I'm going to name the item. We are Daylight Manufacturing Company, and we make lamps. This is lamp B. We'll give it a description. Lamp B description. Okay. Our cost of goods sold account is going to be cost of goods sold. Our income account will be sales. But then our inventory asset account, we're going to change this to be finished goods. And we're going to leave this cost field blank for now. We're going to let Enterprise calculate the cost, and we're going to figure that cost out based on the items that are in this assembly. So that brings us to really the most important piece of this discussion, which is the bill of materials. And we're going to go to full view. The bill of materials, this is where we tell Enterprise which of our raw materials that we have make up this assembly item. Okay, so we're gonna add these items. So let's start. We are going to need let's say we're going to need a finial, top finial. We're going to need a shade. And it's going to be one finial. quantity of one shade. And see, we're calculating our cost and then our total, which is the multiplication there. We need a pole. We'll need a base. 1. We'll need, what else do we need? Let's say, gotta have a socket. And we'll say a nut on the bottom. We need one of those. And then we need labor. Now, I'm going to click on the Edit Item button so we can go to the labor item and discuss what we're doing. Alright, so we've got a service item set up called labor, and we've coded it to the expense account of payroll expenses. Income account, income account is sales. That's irrelevant here. And we've given it a cost of $1. Now, this is sort of a tip, trick for those of you out there who may be watching this. Instead of setting up a specific labor item for everything that you assemble or you manufacture, set up a generic labor item. You may need one or two. In this case, we're saying the cost is $1. So we have a labor item set up for $1. Now, I'm going to cover the math with you a little bit in just a second, but let me explain the expense account. So when we write a check to our employees, we cut them a check, the expense account of payroll expenses, it goes up. We're recording that expense there. Now, when we use this labor item to build our assemblies, that account is going to be credited or reduced by the amount, the dollar amount that gets calculated. So the payroll expenses account will be reduced by our labor that we're saying is going into our finished goods, and then it's going to be capitalized, so the finished goods inventory will be increased by that amount. This is standard costing and the capitalization of labor. So you have to do some sort of study to figure out, well, how much labor do I have in lamp B? Okay, so what I'm going to say is we've done our study and we've got $5.50 in each lamp B that we make. So if my labor item costs $1, if I put 5.5 of them on here, I get a labor cost of each lamp B that I make of $5.50. So I have a total bill of materials cost of $26.58. This is based on our average cost of the units of raw materials that we purchase, and then the standard labor cost of $5.50 per lamp B that we make. So if I click OK, I now have my bill of materials, which describes to the system which raw materials to use and how many, and also my labor service item, at what quantity of that. So we have now set up our assembly item in Enterprise. So the next thing that we'll do is we'll go and we'll manufacture, we will assemble some of lamp B. That's going to be in the next video, the part 2 of the assembly and light manufacturing. So thanks for looking. And we defined lamp B to the system as being made up of each of these components. Now, the important distinction we need to make is we did not tell Enterprise how many of these assemblies that we have, because that wasn't the point. We were defining the assembly. We were telling the system this is what makes up lamp B. Now we're going to go and build lamp B. So I'm going to come back to the home page, and we'll go up here to the inventory activities icon, and we're going to click on build assemblies. So this is our build assembly form, and we've customized it a little bit to give it the name of manufacturing work order. And so we're going to start by selecting lamp B. So this puts lamp B on our build assembly form. And this is going to look very familiar. This is the bill of materials. This is what makes up lamp B, all of our raw material items and our labor item. So what all do we have on this form? Well, we've got the individual items. We've got how many that we have said are required of each of these items. We have the quantity on hand of these items, And down here we have the maximum number of lamp B that we could build based upon our raw material quantities. Okay, we're gonna put 200 in. All right, and I've got a requirement set up for a customer, so we're gonna say this is Franklin Furniture Company. Sales order 3, and we'll give it a due date. So now if we click build in new, which I'm going to, when we do that, the system is going to take out of the raw materials inventory this quantity, 200 of each of these items, and it's going to reduce the raw materials inventory asset account that we discussed in the first video, and then it's going to increase the finished good inventory account that we discussed by that amount, and also it is going to increase the finished good inventory account for the $1,100 of labor that is associated with building 200 of lamp B. So we're gonna say build a new. I'm going to click previous to go back, and then I'm going to run a report, transaction journal report, and I'm going to modify this just real quick so that we can see the debits and credits that's associated with this. Okay. So here we have the finished good account is going up by $5,316.69. Okay. The raw materials inventory account has been reduced by these numbers and values, and then the payroll expense account has been credited $1,100. So we reduced our payroll expenses by the amount that we told the system, the amount of labor, the dollar amount that we said goes into building 200 of lamp B. Okay, so we're going to hope that covers the accounting of that. So we got two major approaches that we can use in manufacturing, light manufacturing and assembly. One of them is to build to order, and the other would be build to stock. If you were going to build to stock 200 of lamp B, because lamp B was something that was purchased often, and you know you have to keep a certain stock level, then this is what you would do. Come in, put the items on your manufacturing work order, build them, and move about your day. Slightly different would be if lamp B was not something that you built on a regular basis. It was more of a special order item. It was something that you were building to order for a particular customer. So what we're going to do is we have got a customer called Franklin Furniture that has a sales order open. This is sales order number 3. The order date was January 15th of 2011. We've got a due date of January 22nd, 2011, and they've ordered 200 of lamp B. So this is our sales order in the system right now. So we've got a manufacturing work order to match that sales order. And I'm going to show you how we've customized this form. And the idea is on a build order is that you're going to have a traveler, a document that goes through your location to tell your folks what are we building, who are we building it for, how many of them, and when is it due. So we've modified the pending build form to be a manufacturing work order. So we have our product, its description, who our customer is, and this, the customer, the sales order, and the date due. These are all custom fields that we added. So we've got our sales order, our date due, and our quantity to build, and then of course we have our bill of materials. And then we added down here at the bottom a work completed, so someone could sign off for this, and the date. So if I were building to order and this was something that was going to take several days, I don't want to save the work order and say that it's done. What I really want to do is I want to mark this build as pending. Okay, so we've got this in as pending, and QuickBooks Enterprise has really no native work in process. It's either it's done or it isn't. However, we can go to Edit, Preferences, Items in Inventory, Company Preferences, and under the When Calculating Quantity Available section, we can check Quantity Reserved for Pending Builds and Quantity on Sales Orders. So we're going to deduct those from inventory. So we've got those checked. So if we have got a pending build, these items will be designated in the system. 200 of top finial B, 200 of the shade, 200 of the pole, so forth and so on will be designated as on a pending build, and thus will show up on some of the reporting. Okay, so we'll build a new. We've changed the transaction. We're going to record the changes. So now we have a pending build for Franklin Furniture for 200 of lamp B. So this is going to conclude video number 2 in our multi-part series on using QuickBooks Enterprise Solutions in an inventory and light manufacturing environment. We're going to cover reports and their functionality in the next video. I hope you have enjoyed the first 2, and I hope you'll continue with the series. B we created on our pending build here, or a manufacturing work order as we customize this. A feature that is available in Enterprise and has been for a couple of versions now is a variable build feature, or the ability to adjust your pending build, or in this case your manufacturing work order, on the fly, so to speak. So just for instance, let's say we had a customer who was ordering lamp B, but what they wanted is they wanted us to include the top finial from lamp A and the shade from lamp A. So let's add the 87A shade, and then we'll add the top finial A to this. So now we've got excuse me, these 2 inventory parts added to this manufacturing work order. We have the assembly that essentially makes up lamp B, and then we've added 2 additional components to it. Now, why this is important is we didn't have to set up a brand new assembly. We just put lamp B on here and added these 2 components to it, and it just adds it on this particular form. So if we put a customer on here, we'll use our Franklin Furniture Company, and we're going to give it a sales order 8, take 2, and let's just say we made 10. Okay, so if we save this, we say build a new. So we built that one, and if we call lamp B back up, it just brings the bill of materials that we created originally for lamp B. So the example I showed you would be one way you could view this. Another way to view this, let's say you're mixing things. That's what you do. Maybe you're a bakery and you use X number of pounds of yeast typically to produce a certain type of bread. Well, if you used more or less, you could just simply come back and adjust the quantity on a per item basis. So if it were 1 pound and it was really 1.2 pounds, you could make the change and then save it and close it. And that will just change it on this particular build. The next time you're making that bread or whatever it is that you're mixing or making, you would call up the original assembly and it would have the quantities that you put on there originally. The ability to adjust on the fly, variable build, however you want to look at it, that's a feature that's available in Enterprise, so we just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. So we'll clear this, we'll come back to the home screen, and we're going to go to a report that's called Inventory Stock Status by Item. Go ahead and refresh the report to accommodate for the build we just did. Okay. So what we have here is exactly what it says. It's our inventory stock status by item. So we have our inventory items under the inventory category, and then we have assembly items under our assembly category. So we have an actual quantity on hand, which is this column here. And then we have a column that is on sales orders. So we can run this report and look and see what is on sales order, how many do we need. And for instance, we have a dresser 89 inventory item. We have 15 on hand and 17 on sales order. So we have a -2 quantity available, and there's none on purchase order. So we need to be getting something on a purchase order to cover up that shortage. We have the 4 assemblies column. Now this is essentially work in process. These are the inventory items that are needed for all of the pending builds that we have. So we need 160 of the lampshade, the 87A shade, and 200 for the 90B shade. And let's take a look at another report just to kind of tie this in. This is the pending build report, and so these are all the builds that we have going on currently that are in process. They have not been completed yet. So we have 200 of lamp B on a build, 10 of lamp A on one build, and 150 on another. And if we come back to our inventory stock status by item, you're going to see, the 160, that's the 150 plus the 10 and the 200, and then down here our socket or our nut is used in both, so we've got 360. Our socket is used in both, so we have 360. So this is kind of your WIP, kind of your demand right now. And so then we have the available column, which is our on hand less what we have on assembly gives us an available quantity. And then of course we have a on PO, and our ordering and procurement department is not with it. We have nothing on purchase order. Okay, so those 2 reports, they can be found in the reports section under inventory. So you have an inventory stock status by item, 1 by vendor. We like the stock status by item better, and then the pending builds report. And then the other thing, or the other place you can go to get information, is the actual item list itself. So here is our item list. We have the name of our items over here on the left. Then we have the on pending builds, and this is our raw materials that are on pending builds, and then a to be built. So we have our 160 of lamp A, 200 of lamp B, what type of item it is, inventory part versus assembly or service for our labor, our total quantity, and then our quantity on purchase order, and if we roll this out, also a quantity on sales order. So here's our demand from our customers. Again, we have nothing on purchase order, so we'll have to get our purchasing department to start getting us some materials in. So those are 3 reports and areas you could go to take a look in Enterprise to get information on the items that you are manufacturing, the current stock status, your demand from your customers, and what you have on purchase order. So this we're going to let this conclude part 3 of our series on assembly and light manufacturing. I hope this has been helpful for you. We appreciate all the good feedback we've got on the videos that we put out. And we thank you for visiting our website, www.office